everybody. Welcome into the Porch. It is a Volquest baseball podcast here on Volquest.com and Volquest on the YouTube channel. I am Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys being here with us and listening to what we have going on here today as Tennessee gets ahead to head down to Athens to take on Georgia for another critical Southeastern Conference series. VFL and home run champion Luc Lipcius will join me here in about 15 minutes. Just as he does every single week on the Porch. And a big thanks to Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP, for making this coverage possible. Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, and Richard A. Spivey. If you got a problem, let them find a solution. TN Trial Lawyers, 423-245-4185 is the phone number for a free consultation, or visit them online at Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP.com. Got a lot to get into here today, and man, I mean, what a difference 2 weeks makes, right? I mean, exiting the Arkansas series and really heading into the Vanderbilt series because Tennessee dropped that midweek to Tennessee Tech. You know, the Volunteers were 5-10 in conference play with 15 games left to go, and scratching and clawing, knowing that they needed to go on a run here in this back half of Southeastern Conference, schedule. Did not foresee a sweep coming that weekend against Vanderbilt. Tennessee swept them. Tennessee bullied them. Okay, off to a great start. You needed to win that series, but it's not like you had to sweep, but of course you'll take it, right? Mississippi State's coming to town. Take advantage of what's in front of you. Mississippi State can't pitch. They have no arms. Tennessee, caused a, not Tennessee only, but of course they made a move this week and fired their pitching coach, Mississippi State did, and it's because they had nobody that could, pitch strikes, and Tennessee got down early and often in all three of those games, but you knew it was never over because Mississippi State struggled to throw the baseball. So you swept Vanderbilt. You swept Mississippi State. You have a midweek against a Wofford program that, all intents and purposes, that's a pretty good midweek win. Not only did you beat them, you run-rolled them. That was a top 50 RPI win for the University of Tennessee that's now jumped back inside the top 20 in terms of RPI, and your record is 31-14, 11-10, first time all season that you have eclipsed the 500 mark in Southeastern Conference play, first time since last year. Tennessee drew even at 500 after the second weekend of Southeastern Conference play, fell victim of the sweep to Missouri at Missouri, and then came home and swept Texas A&M, and Tennessee was 3-3, but then it kind of dug itself in a hole and lost the majority of the series to follow with 5-10, and needed to go on the run, and that run is here, and that's what Tennessee is going on right now. So you swept Vanderbilt, you swept Mississippi State, and now you look at Georgia, a very capable, or very, winnable, I guess I should say, very winnable series for the University of Tennessee, and that's going to be at Georgia this weekend. Sometime on Friday, I'm going to release a story, just some quotes and everything I've been asking this past week about playing on the road. It's no shocker, right? Tennessee's 1-9 on the road, 1-1 in neutral fields. The opener against Arizona in Game 3 of the season out there in Arizona against UC Davis or UC Upstate, UC San Diego, whatever the hell that team that is. Those were considered neutral fields, but you were playing Arizona in Phoenix, right? I mean, that, home field advantage, right? It goes to the Cats. And then, of course, you played at Grand Canyon, which was a really, really good environment. I mean, I was there. It was really cool to see, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, that's kind of how you started the season. Of course, you fell by 3 games at Missouri. You were swept at Arkansas. You dropped 2 at LSU, and so on and so forth. So Tennessee's not been a good road team so far. And so that's kind of what gives me pause about this series. Tennessee's the better team. Tennessee's playing better right now. But you're going on the road. You're going away from Lindsey Nelson Stadium to a team that, sure, it's got a winning record at home this year. I think they're 15-11, maybe 16-11, whatever the case is. But it's not like they've been dominant at home. However, Georgia did sweep Arkansas just 2 weeks ago. I found that pretty interesting. We'll go ahead and dive into Georgia a little bit here before passing on a couple of notes before we get into Luc Lipcius. You look at Georgia, on the season, I mentioned they've only won 2 conference series so far this season. That's it. They were swept by South Carolina at home to begin the SEC schedule, dropped 2 of 3 games at Auburn. On the road, they were swept by Vanderbilt in Nashville, dropped 2 of 3 games in Gainesville to Florida, and dropped 2 of 3 in Oxford last weekend. They've won 2 series at home where they took 2 of 3 over Kentucky, and they swept Arkansas again 2 weekends ago. So a little all over the place, but not been super consistent. I'll tell you this, really on both sides of the ball, offensively and with the arms, kind of middle of the pack. The arms are bottom third for sure, but the hitting guys, kind of middle of the pack to bottom third in the lineup. They were picked preseason fifth by the league's coaches in the SEC. They're currently sixth in the division, the East Division, with an 8-13 record. The Bats are second in the conference with 88 doubles. They're fifth in home runs with 80, but also 10th in batting average with 286 and 12th in on-base percentage right now. I closed the tab of the team stats in front of me, but in case you're wondering, Tennessee is currently tied for the league lead with Florida in home runs. I think it was like 96. Tennessee's like fourth in team batting average, like 290 something. Tennessee's obviously up there, runs scored, hits average, all that type of stuff. And it's gotten better over the last couple of weeks for sure. But Georgia, in terms of the Bats, middle of the road to bottom third, if you will. You look at the pitching for Georgia. Now, it's down there towards the bottom. Ranking towards the cellar in the conference in ERA, 12th in the conference with a 627 clip. Not great. Opposing offenses are hitting 264 against Georgia pitchers. That is 11th in the SEC, meaning only 3 teams are worse than that. The staff is combined for 413 strikeouts. That's 10th most in the SEC. Georgia's allowed 61 home runs. That is only 3 teams in the SEC have allowed more so far this season. They plunked hit batters. They plunked a league-high 61 batters. Again, it's not that impressive in terms of the arm, and I'm recording this on Wednesday, debuting this episode on Thursday, and I'll get confirmation on the starters on Thursday, but I would assume what they've done each of the past 2 weekends. I think Arkansas will throw a righty, and Colton Smith, a true freshman, started doing some weekend starts a couple weeks ago after beginning the season in the bullpen. He is 2-1 with a 4.91 ERA, and then 2 southpaws should follow him. Charlie Goldstein on Saturday, a 3-1 record, a 4.50 ERA, and Liam Sullivan, a 4-2 record, 4.73 ERA. Now, the middle guy on Saturday, Charlie Goldstein, he started a little rough, and he's looked a whole lot better of late. Let's see here. He's made 11 appearances on the season with 7 starts. Let's see here. Over the last month, he's allowed only 7 earned runs across 28 2/3 inning pitch, combined 25 strikeouts and 6 walks. So Goldstein's pitching pretty well right now. As far as Sunday starter, the number 3 starter, Liam Sullivan, he's made every start this season. He's made 11 starts, 11 appearances. He started off really, really sharp, but he's on a stretch right now where he's not pitching well whatsoever. He's not been the same since March 18th. And a start against South Carolina where he pitched 5 innings, where he allowed 5 runs in 3 innings and a third of work. Outside of a really, really good start against Kentucky on April 9th, where he went 7 strong, no runs, 8 strikeouts, the Southpaw's given up a combined 23 runs across 27 2/3 innings pitched, including being knocked around for 8 runs across 10 innings in his last 2 starts. I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now, but read my preview that'll come out Friday, and it'll all be in written form. So yeah, your number 2 starter is really struggling here lately. Your number 3 starter is really struggling lately. Your number 2 starter for Georgia is pitching better lately, and then Colton Smith, your Friday night guy, he's all right. He's just been kind of a freshman so far this season. He's had his highs and his lows. He's not stretched out completely yet, so if that's who they go with, and again, I'll get confirmation, and I'll have these, I'll put a note on the board on exactly who's going to be for Arkansas. Expect the same rotation for Tennessee for sure, with an opportunity to win some games, secure a spot in the NCAA tournament, and now you're trying to host. Expect the Lindsey, Dolander, Beam rotation for Tennessee. But I'll confirm these and put them on the board, put them in the war room and all that type of stuff later on. But that's how you need to look out for kind of your preview there for Georgia's pitching. Leighton Finley and Dalton Rodons, 2 back into the bullpen guys. Both those guys are combined for 5 saves, 5 of the team's 8 saves. So those 2 guys will be kind of in the back end. And then at the plate, they got 3 hitters, and that's pretty much it. And those 3 hitters are doing really, really well. So obviously, you got to be careful with those guys. Right fielder Charlie Condon. He leads the way with an impressive 404 batting average, 19 home runs, 57 RBI. All 3 easily leading the team, and he hits second in the order. Preseason All-SEC left fielder Connor Tate, 379 at the plate, 13 home runs, 46 RBI, hitting third in the order. And then first baseman and cleanup hitter Parks Harbor, 285 average, 15 homers, 48 RBI. Those are the three hitting 2, 3, and 4 in the order to look out for. The leadoff man has 7, Ben Anderson. I think he has a team-high 7 stolen bags. They don't run an awful lot, but he's one to look out for. Connor Tate as well. He's stolen 6 bags. But outside of those three, nobody else in the starting lineup, the routine starters, are hitting over 280 on the season. Nobody has over 6 home runs, and nobody has more than 22 RBI. So really, it's a 3-man show offensively for Georgia. But again, it's a team that's capable, that's shown that it's capable of winning big games at home. Swept Arkansas just 2 weeks ago. At the time, Kentucky was playing pretty well, and it took 2 or 3 against Kentucky. But it's a team that is so beatable, especially the way Tennessee is playing, if it can overcome its road issues for sure. All right, so quick math right here. A lot of you guys are continuing to ask about, what's the win number in the SEC Tennessee needs to get into to secure their spot in the NCAA tournament, to host, maybe a super, all that type of stuff. And again, this is all give or take. Nothing is set in stone, and this is my opinion. You ask a lot of other people that cover college baseball, and they'll agree with me, or they might say something is slightly different. It's never set in stone what I'm about to say, but of course it could depend on the committees, and obviously it could depend on the years we're asking. But to get in the NCAA tournament, if you're 14-16 in the SEC, you're usually in. Tennessee right now is 11 wins in SEC play. So essentially you're looking at getting 3 more wins. You want to get more, and you should get more, but you're essentially looking for 3 more wins and 9 opportunities. So you feel good there. If you're 14-16 in that Southeastern Conference play, Tennessee in 2019 got in that way. Ole Miss last year got in that way and went on to win the entire thing. 15-15 is an absolute lock. If you want to host a regional, 16-14 with a top 40 RPI, will likely get that done. Tennessee on pace to get 16 wins. Well, that's going 5-4 over the last 9, right? I think Tennessee can do that, don't you? At 16-14 should get that done with a top 40 RPI, and if you win those games, the RPI, of course, will take care of itself, and you're already in a good spot in that regards. Hosting a super regional is on the table, but I don't think you should even be thinking about that right now. I really don't. Focus on getting into the tournament, focus on hosting a regional, and if the wins come and you make a run in Hoover, maybe you get up to 17 wins in the SEC, maybe 18 wins, and you go to Saturday, maybe Sunday in Hoover, then you're probably looking at hosting a super regional or getting that opportunity. So anyway, I would just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep swimming, right, Dory? Just keep swimming and swimming, because what you're doing right now is working really, really well. One other note before I get into our chat with Luc Lipcius here today on the Porch. It's been really fun chatting with him all season long. He's really, really cool to talk to. He's been a good sounding board as well, for questions that I may have just, on the game, right? Kavaris Tears, I don't believe he will be available this weekend. I'll continue to ask, and you want to check in a couple of times throughout the week, but obviously you want to check in towards the weekend. But at the time of this recording, I would be stunned if he were to be available this weekend. I don't believe that's going to be the case. I think that he's probably, I'm not a doctor and I don't want to put a timetable on it, but next weekend would be pushing it, in my opinion, on the oblique injury from Kavaris Tears. So we will see. When Tony made mention of that last weekend, he said it's going to be excited to get him back in the fold later. So I don't think that he's close to returning right now with that oblique injury, which sucks, man, because he's got a good bat and he deserves to play. He really does. Tennessee right now, the way they're swinging it with Dylan Dryland, Griffin Merritt's, you have one really good option off the bench for sure for Tennessee. So anyway, that's kind of where we stand right now. If you guys have any questions for me, got to always hit me up on the board. You can send me a direct message if you want to. Ask a question on the board. You can always hit me up on Twitter @_Cainer. I see the questions. I always do my best to answer them. If I don't answer your question, maybe I didn't see it. But I always do try to find some answers for you guys whenever you want to ask a question. So appreciate the interaction. It's a lot of fun covering a Tennessee baseball team that's playing well. And I think I don't remember who said it. I don't remember who started this thread on the board the other day, but somebody did and said, "Hey, there's something fun about watching a team struggle at the beginning of the season and get better." I don't think it's fun to watch a team struggle, but I get the premise of that. Seeing a team get better and better and just chipping away, getting better and better and better. And you're seeing that right now with Tennessee, and that's exciting. And I think they're doing a heck of a job. So can you find another way to win? Tennessee has blown big leads and won in the bottom of the ninth inning. Tennessee has been down by a couple of runs and stormed back to walk it off. Tennessee's been down by a couple of runs, came back to win by a couple of runs. Tennessee's won them late. Tennessee's won them in extras. Tennessee's won them at home. Can you win them on the road? A very winnable series awaits in Athens. I'm going to be down there this weekend and looking forward to some good baseball and bringing all that coverage to you at Volquest.com. All right, so we've got Luc Lipcius. He is coming up next right here on The Porch. It is a Volquest baseball podcast each and every week. But first, we could not do this podcast without our friends, without our buddies over at Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP. Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, Richard A. Spivey. You got a problem? Let them find a solution for you. That's TN Trial Lawyers. They specialize in criminal defense, family law, personal injury. Examples of that: DUI, homicide, assault, divorce, custody, alimony, personal wrecks, injuries, all that type of stuff. They have over 80 years of combined experience. Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP provides representation throughout the state and federal courts of Northeast Tennessee, a firm with a vast amount of trial experience. This practice has been in place for 43 years, with this partnership forming in 2012. They have partners who are energized for today's modern legal demands, practicing primarily in Northeast Tennessee, the Tri-Cities of Sullivan County, as well as Hawkins County, Washington County, and surrounding counties. The firm has won multiple awards and have attorneys who are rated by super lawyers in the Mid-South and with real trial experience. Whether you're injured in a car accident, need a divorce, help with custody of your children, or have been accused of a crime, they are there to help. That's Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP. Go see them in person. Kingsport, Tennessee. Go K-Metz, right? 142 Cherokee Street. That is in Kingsport, Tennessee. Give them a call today for a free consultation. 423-245-4185. That is 423-245-4185. Or you can always visit them online at Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP.com. Luc Lipcius coming up next on The Porch. Luke, it's been a fun couple of weeks. Tennessee back-to-back sweeps in SEC play, now over 500 in conference play. How much fun was watching that series last week in a sweep of Mississippi State?
Yeah, there was a lot of excitement. It's something we haven't seen this year from the team, minus that Vandy series where, Griffin Merritt, what is he doing on Fridays? Put him in, having him as a pinch hit. It's another walk-off homer, absolutely unreal. And then just the fact that, Saturday we were down by as much as I think it was either 2 or 3 runs, come back, get back down, come back again, and score a bunch. It's this not giving up that we hadn't seen in the early parts of the season that I'm just loving watching. The guys look like they're finally having fun playing for each other. And then, of course, Sunday, you run out, you run rule them. Beam throws a complete game. It's good baseball, and it's the kind of baseball that we expect to see from the Vols. And, it's the right baseball that we expect to see going into and leading up to the postseason.
You kind of led into it there, but Tennessee won 3 games last weekend against Mississippi State in 3 different ways. Friday night, you led big. They came back, and you still found a way to win. Game 2, which I guess is Friday, Tennessee actually trailed by 5 runs, came back and won by 4 runs. And then Sunday, you just beat the crap out of them. How encouraging as a player, kind of when you're getting later and later in the season, is it to know that, hey, looking back, we've won games in so many different ways. So it almost gives you a feeling like, I don't want to speak for you, but it almost gives you a feeling like it doesn't matter what situation you're in, you guys can find a way to win.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think I've said it a lot on this podcast is just you trying to build confidence. And if you see that when you're down, you can still win. If you see that when you're up, you can still win, and you can just downright beat the crap out of a team. It gives you all the more confidence to go out there and just play your best, all that stuff. And I think that this team is realizing that no matter how far down they are or up they are, whatever, they can score like that. We've seen it mostly in the first inning, a couple of times there's 6 or 9 run first, but regardless, you do that once and it gives you confidence that you can do it again at any point. So like I said, they're doing well at the right time. They're looking a lot better, a lot more confident, and it's just so fun to see.
You look at a guy like Christian Scott, and again, I've asked you about him a couple of times, but it's just so nice to see a guy like that being rewarded. 5th-year guy coming back, taking advantage of that extra year of eligibility. Has never really kind of gotten into a groove here at Tennessee. but he is this year. He's playing great in the outfield. He is the third best hitter on the team in SEC play. He was, I think, D1 Baseball, SEC Extra Plus Player of the Week last year. I mean, he was one of those 3-run home runs on Sunday. He's killing it right now. How much fun is that to watch Christian Scott do what he's doing?
It is absolutely amazing, that guy, because he was with us when things were fairly bad, and he stuck around. And that's one so hard thing, kind of a forgotten thing in today's game, is seeing kids stick around because the transfer portal's right there. You don't have to sit out a year, so you can just get up and leave. And so the fact that he chose to stick around, it's always a dicey decision. You never know what's going to happen. And I'm so happy to see it paying off for him. You saw him starting really early on and then kind of took a break from that. And now he's an everyday guy again. And it's just one of those stories that you look back when the season's over, you're like, he can rest well and rest easy, knowing that, he went through all that he did. He stuck around and it turned out well for him. And I just absolutely love seeing a fellow old guy doing what he does and making big moves on that ball field.
Kind of on that same note, I wrote a feature on him earlier this week, Hunter Inslee. Sticking through, and what started out as, hey, let's just get a right-handed bat in the order whenever there's a southpaw on the mound, has turned into an everyday player playing center field. He's now moved up to the 2-hole. He's got, I think, a hit in 7 straight games. He's reached base like 12 of the last 13. Hunter Inslee, another guy that's just stayed the course, playing really good baseball.
Yeah, and a guy that had to deal with injuries. That's another thing that people don't realize, how there's a difference between just straight up not playing and then not playing due to injury. Because one of them, it's you can kind of work to get in that starting rotation, but if you're injured, there's really nothing you can do. So it's almost that extra level of kind of sadness that you feel. But so for him going through that all freshman year, and then to now where he's at, doing so well, another great story to see. And I love watching him. He's a great guy too. It's so awesome.
Tennessee earlier this week had a midweek win, a run roll win against Wofford. And Wofford wasn't your typical midweek opponent. It had a top 40 RPI or top 50 RPI. I think it was like 45th, 46th, 32-11 on the year. It's had some pretty decent wins. How big of a showing was that for Tennessee in a midweek to run roll a team like Wofford, where you're just trying to continue to stack up all these RPI wins?
Yeah, so the midweeks, they are kind of different from the weekend. What you expect to see is kind of an offensive game, whatever midweek you go into. And so the fact that we are putting up all these runs, but also limiting them to so few runs, it's so good to see. You got not necessarily the dogs, but you still got your good guys going out there, and they're doing what they need to do in a midweek. And again, it goes back to a mentality thing. If you're doing what you need to do in a midweek, then the weekend almost takes care of itself, because you're psyching yourself out, you're getting ready, and you're not taking anything for granted. And I think that's what we're seeing from this team after that Vandy series. They're not taking anything for granted. They're playing a lot better, and they're actually playing for something now. What that something is, I don't know. But whatever it is, they keep on doing it. Great to see a good midweek win and another run rule, send them home early.
Yeah, Tony sure loves that for sure. That's a little sarcasm there. Would you have liked the run rule? I would imagine probably not, but it wasn't around when you play. But would you have enjoyed the run rule?
So it depends. I think as far as development of players go, the run rule hurts you because those 7th, 8th, and 9th innings are when you get the so-called substitutes, usually just freshmen that don't have a lot of ABs, into the game so they get experience. So when you take away that run rule, you're limiting the experience for the guys. Now, with that being said, there are times where maybe it's cold, it's rainy, and you're up by
Iona.
15. Yeah, exactly. You're up by however many that you just want to send it home. Those are nice. And then, of course, you're winning by whatever, 20-something against Mississippi State. Let's just pack it up, But other than that, I think it's good for pitching as well because you get to save some arms, especially on a big weekend series. But, I don't think we would have set as many records if we had the run rule in play last year, So it's kind of give and take,
No, you're exactly right. A lot of those runs, a lot of those home runs, there was a run rule in place last year. A lot of those will be off the board. So that's a really, really good point. You mentioned it a moment ago, it's kind of like you got something to play for now. You always have something to play for, but now that you've turned the season around, not only are you playing for an NCAA postseason berth, which, again, knock on wood right now, but you've won 6 straight. You're now 11-10 in conference play. You really only need to win 3 of the last 9, and where your RPI is going to be to feel good about your NCAA chances. So that's one mountain that you're climbing at an accelerated pace, which is good. Now you're in play potentially, one thing at a time, but you can maybe be in play for hosting a regional. Actually, you're very much in play for hosting a regional and potentially hosting a super if it gets to that point is still on the table. So, we'll see exactly what happens, but just how different, and how as a player, I don't want to say you're comfortable now, but how much more does that, I guess, encourage you to just keep going, knowing that the season's turned around and you have a chance to play for some home playoff games?
Yeah, so it means the world. Just the fact that they put themselves in such a good position that they still need to worry a little bit, but not necessarily need to worry
Yeah.
about that playoff berth. It takes a lot of pressure off of you. You can go out and just keep doing what you're doing. Now, if I'm there in the dugout, or in the locker room dugout, whatever practice, I'm letting the guys know how fun it is to host a regional, especially in Knoxville. These fans, they go absolutely absurd. And so that's just one of those motivating things. You find every little thing you can to motivate guys. So that's one of the things I'm telling them. I'm telling them, beginning of the season, people were frustrated at us, frustrated at the Vols. And I'm telling them what we're doing now is bringing this revitalization. I think I saw that it was either Saturday or Friday for Mississippi State was the 4th largest crowd in program history. You see that when the team's doing what it's supposed to do, and it's doing it in a fashion that is kind of the Vol way, people want to come see you, and it's more fun to play again in front of 4,000 than it is 2,000, and it's all these things, chances at Omaha, chances for hosting super, chances for you just put them all together and take it as that motivating factor for, hey, we're going to keep grinding no matter what's going on.
I mean, we're towards the end of the regular season here, understanding there's 9 games left, but I really like this lineup so much more now, because there were so many questions at the beginning of the season, and they were playing poorly and trying to figure themselves out and everything, and that's understandable. But one of those guys that just makes this thing go, and he'll be a draft pick, and he's playing great baseball right now. Jared Dickey hitting 350 in SEC, around 350 in SEC play. He's a guy that it feels like every single game he's doing something. They moved him up to the 3 hole, which I absolutely love, because I think he, I don't want to say that he's the best hitter on the team, but he's obviously up there as being one of the best hitters on the team. I think Blake Burke is still, one of arguably the best hitter on the team, regardless. But Jared Dickey's playing some really, really good baseball right now, coming to his own in the outfield. Now he's not catching anymore. What have you seen from Jared Dickey?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's always been so steadfast, even last year, and you kind of just expect him to go up there and get a hit. But now it's like it seems like every single time he's up, like you said, he's doing something.
Yeah.
And moving him into the 3 hole as a guy with that kind of bat to ball skills plus a little bit of power, absolutely great move. The moment doesn't get too big for him either. You see him still driving in runs, all that good stuff, and it takes pressure off of guys like Burke or Simo before this week and weekend was struggling a little bit. We saw him turn it around. Absolutely love that. And then a guy like Burke, he's again steadfast, but he was not himself, and maybe it was pressure, whatever. Dickey moving into that 3 hole is one of the best moves they could have made. Yeah, like you said, there the lineup's just rolling right now. It's awesome.
Yeah, and Blake Burke is still trying to figure it out defensively. There was a play last night, and again, I'm not trying to act like an all-knowing expert at first base. That's you. But there was a play last night where a throw from, I guess it was C. Scott in right field to the plate, and Burke cut it off. And, man, if you let that go, that'd been a play at the plate. I'm not saying he'd be out, but he'd been close. So I think Burke is still, and it'll take a little while, but he's still trying to figure out that first base spot.
Definitely coming into his own.
Yeah, for sure. All right, look at that starting rotation now. It's a couple of weekends in. Andrew Lindsey, Chase Dolander, Drew Beam. Beam is 2 starts removed from a bounce back from Arkansas, which is fantastic. SEC Pitcher of the Week. I think Andrew Lindsey's still giving you great stuff on Friday nights. Doe was sick this past week. What's it say about him that he still gave it a go? In my opinion, and talking with some people and seeing kind of what he looked like, he probably shouldn't have pitched on Saturday.
It's one of those things. As the culture at Tennessee is built so that the only way you're being sat down in a game is if someone else tells you. You know, if Woody's coming
Yeah.
out there and he's like, "Hey, dude, you gotta leave." That's the only way you're getting
If
taken
you're
out.
breathing,
So
you're playing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So if if you're sick, you know, it makes it tougher for sure. But you know, all of us have played through being sick, so it's kind of expected, and that's not taking anything away. It is still extremely difficult to play when you're sick. So him going out, you know, he was shaky, but it's just another reason to have a bounce back start. And it's one of those things. I'm hoping that in his head he's flipping that negative to a positive and saying, "Hey, I got a big chance to bounce back at Georgia, keep us rolling, that kind of stuff." And he's probably going to feel twice as good now since he wasn't feeling good last weekend when he goes into the game this weekend. Again, Lindsey giving such strong starts every time he goes out there. And then Burns coming in, doing his thing, absolutely electric. And then, of course, Beam, like you said, 2 weeks removed from that rough start over at Arkansas. He's going to do his thing. I am nothing but confident about this starting rotation going into the weekend.
Yep, I am too. And you went through there. I mean, just such elite reliever options right now. Chase Burns doing his thing. He looked good last weekend as well. Was available to pitch on Sunday. Didn't end up needing him. But Halverson's struggling a little bit. How important is it to get Halvey back on track? And also, it feels like it's just somebody that's sticking out every weekend, man. Cannon Sewell was the guy this past weekend. He looked great in the game 2 where Tennessee had the big lead. Or no, when Tennessee, was down a lot, came back, got a couple run lead, and then they put him in there, and he kind of settled everything down, had some emotion. How big was Cannon Sewell, and how big is it for Tennessee whenever he's pitching like that?
Yeah, well, I'll go to your first part of that question. Halvey, he's kind of a crucial part in this because hopefully we don't need him, but there's going to be a point at which we need him to go that long relief role, 3 or 4 innings, and shut it down. And if we don't have that guy, that's another Burns like dude that can come in, that has starter experience, that can pitch for a while, it's going to hurt us a little bit. But I think he'll be one of those guys that we see bounce back too, just figuring a little bit of stuff out, whatever it is. But then Sewell, oh my God, he is bringing so much electricity to the back end of that bullpen. I love seeing a veteran guy that still has that fire. You know, it's easy to do when you're younger. It's hard to do when you've been through it 4 or 5 years. Seeing him going out there with the emotion he's pitching with, he's one of those guys that you just depend on. And you see that he has a lot longer leash than some of these other kids, because I think it was not last weekend, 2 weeks ago. Not the best. I think he walked a couple guys, hit a couple guys in an inning or two. And of course, you still see him being rolled out in these big situations. And that's how much trust they have in Cam. And it's so awesome watching him pitch, because you know he's going to give you something, and it's going to be hard outs. Nothing's really hit hard off his bat either. It's just great.
All right, it's Tennessee and Georgia this weekend. Tennessee, it's kind of a theme for the week, and it's not, you're not trying to pick on the team, but it is what it is. You're 1-9 on the road. I asked the guys in post game on Tuesday, and I asked Tony a little bit, kind of, how do you take what is happening now during that 9-game or 10-game homestand, whatever it was, when you played such great baseball? How do you take that on the road? Kind of, what's that key?
Yeah, you got to come out strong, and everyone's going to be able to feel it. This sense of we haven't performed on the road, but it's that first inning. And I'm not necessarily saying score 9 runs in the first, but have good ABs, show that you're fighting, come up, like just do something that gets the boys motivated and going. Because if we see, like we have seen, where they're just kind of sitting down first inning, and then it gets worse second, third, and this morale goes down. That's where we hurt ourselves. And I think this team has done a lot better job of keeping that morale up, keep doing things that will get them motivated. But like I said, I think it's coming out strong and setting the tone, not only for that game, but for the weekend.
Here's an idea. How about not letting the opposing team score in the first inning? I don't know what it is about the first inning. Even like as good as Dolander's pitched here in the last month, Like you give up a run or two in the first inning, then you're good. I don't get it.
It doesn't make sense. It's a different mentality in the first inning, but still, like it seems like the only runs teams score against us, well, majority I should say,
Yeah.
are in that first inning. So it's whatever. We're doing a lot better job at scoring after they score.
Yeah, I mean, and again, finding ways to win. Mississippi State, the offense was not the issue. Mississippi State had a lead on Tennessee every game last weekend, and Tennessee came right back. Last thing, Luke, is as we talk with former Tennessee first baseman Luc Lipcius here on the Porch every single week, Volquest.com. What do you know about Georgia? I wouldn't expect you to watch every single game for Georgia, but it's a team that kind of all over the map. 2 weeks ago they swept Arkansas. Okay. They have a losing record in SEC play, but they have had some big wins on the season. They have a three-headed monster in that lineup, and Charlie Condon, Connor Tate, and Parks Harbor. A lot of guys that you played against for a couple of years who were still there.
Yeah, they're one of these weird teams that you never know what you're gonna get because, I mean, how do you have a losing record, come out and sweep Arkansas, and then go right back to losing? It's just one of those things where you'd almost rather face a team that's consistently good or consistently bad. I don't think it takes anything away from the guys playing their best or whatever, but they have a pretty good offense. They got a big core that I assume they rely on. Like you said, I haven't watched much of the games, but I looked at the stats. You got this core group of guys. I assume when they go, the team goes. And so it's maybe putting a little bit more emphasis on their at-bats. But as far as pitching goes, I think their lowest ERA is somewhere around 4, which isn't horrible, especially this year. But they're a beatable team. And if we play like we have been, it should not be anything to worry about. But again, they're a tough Georgia team. They're coached well, and they're playing in their own park. So it's going to be a tough road series for the guys. And I know V is harping on that. And if they just keep on playing like they have been, be just fine.
Yeah, swept Arkansas 2 weekends ago, lost to Georgia State in the midweek, and of course midweeks, we know how Tennessee plays midweek, so we get it. At least pitching. Dropped 2 of 3 in Oxford last weekend, and then just got by Kennesaw State 10-9 on Tuesday this past week. Got Tennessee this weekend, then we'll be there against Missouri and LSU. It's a bad way to end the regular season. But yeah, Georgia's a little all over the place, but I would agree with you. Very beatable teams, what I said earlier in the show. And if you play the way you've been playing right now, there's no reason you don't take 2 of 3, but you got to get over those road hiccups, and I'm excited to see if Tennessee can do that.
Yeah, I am too. It's if defense is good, I think the offense will be there. I think the pitching will be all right. So it's the road is where it seems like we make that one error and things snowball. So just keep that good. Play a little good ball. I remember their field's always been relatively nice to us. It plays fast, so it's almost like playing on turf when it's like wet or whatever. So I think they'll be fine.
I know I said last thing like 10 minutes ago, but I do think that this will tell us exactly kind of, again, Tennessee's already turned the season around and they've been playing good ball, but like this series I think will tell us a lot because again, you're going on a team that's capable of beating you, a little all over the place on the road, and then if you win this series, I mean you're sitting straight in the driver's seat staring hosting a regional in the eyes. So any way you want to spin it, I think this is a monster weekend for Tennessee.
Yeah, like you said, it is a big weekend because the way things are going, most likely we will see a road game or series in the postseason.
Yep.
And, it's never good to look ahead. Whatever, I'm going to do it anyways. We need to be able to win on the road, just point blank. Even hopefully we make it to Omaha, that is on the road. So it's fine if we're good at home. It's all fun, but we have not proven that we're good on the road. I'm hoping this is the weekend we do it and we turn it around.
All right, Luke, we'll chat next week right here on the Porch, and we'll see how Tennessee fares at Georgia from over the weekend. Man, I appreciate it as always.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That is former Tennessee first baseman Luc Lipcius, home run king of the Tennessee baseball program, former Tennessee first baseman, and joins us every single week right here on the Porch. All right, that is going to do it here for this edition of the Porch. Tennessee is on the road at Georgia coming up this weekend. Friday night, 6 o'clock is the time. Saturday, 2 o'clock. Sunday, 1 o'clock. All 3 games are going to be broadcasted on the SEC Network Plus. So that is where you can watch all the action. I will be down there bringing you coverage at Volquest.com. You can always follow me on the general quarters and, of course, at _Cainer and at Volquest_on3. Guys, I appreciate it as always. Super excited to see what Tennessee looks like this weekend. And like I just chatted with Luke there, that's a monster weekend. Any way you want to spin it. When I write that 3-2-1 for Monday, we're going to be saying, Tennessee backed itself into a corner, or Tennessee is sitting in the driver's seat just sprinting towards hosting a regional. So it's going to be a big weekend, and I can't wait to see what happens. Big shout out to Spivey King and Spivey LLP for making all of this coverage possible here on the Porch, and a special shout out to you guys for tuning in and checking us out here on the Porch every single week. It is a Volquest baseball podcast.